Okay, welcome to the Art Agents. We have the fabulous Vanessa Lemen today, and it's a Cade Mia Falcher from me and from the Virginians
Howdy.
Howdy.
and from Vanessa.
Hi.
Is that,
Hi.
is that Californian? California. What I'm trying to think of a song about California.
Is California? Wait,
Yeah, what is it? There's definitely a big
I don't know.
California song, and they sing something about the greeting in it. Hold on, Melanie's going to work it
What,
out.
the Katy Perry song?
Oh, I'm thinking way back.
No.
When people had flowers in their hair. Going down to I don't know, for Scott. I don't know. Welcome, Vanessa. How are you?
I'm good. I am noticing a slight lag, so I'm just going to say that right now. If I don't
Have you?
answer,
Oh, there
uh,
is. There is.
that
Well, there's the thing. It's international. So we've got Melanie at the moment in Atlanta. We've got Rachel in Virginia, Vanessa in California, and I'm in Brisbane, Australia. So it might be that. It might be a little bit binging around. We'll blame Elon Musk on that. With Starlink. Now, Vanessa, we have met before at a LuxCon, and I think your work's fabulous, and I'm so happy that we have you on today. We've had so many requests for you. Vanessa, we want to talk about in the Art Agents how to grow a community of artists that have got lots of energy to navigate the world. And we have the experience, and you have the experience that is personal to you, how you got here, the advice you would give people to steer clear of, and the advice you would give people just starting out on how to grow yourself as an artist. That's what we're looking at too. So my first question to you, Vanessa, when you first had the germ of an idea to be an artist, what did you do with that? What was the next thing you did? And when was that?
I'm not sure there was like a turning point when there was like a decision that I was going to do art, that I was going to be an artist. I think that was just always this evolution from when I was a child making art to now.
Yeah.
There wasn't a time where I felt like there was a significant, I know there's decision making that needs to happen when you decide on obviously a career, but it was never, there were things that, I mean, for me, a lot of things have always overlapped. So there were things that were I was doing, and I would always be doing art. And then suddenly the art, not suddenly, gradually the art became um, my my most, you know, the thing that's happening most in my life. But it's always been, who I am.
Yeah.
Um, I can't imagine not doing art. And it doesn't mean as a career. So that's you're saying like, how do
Hmm.
you how do I know when that was? Again, there was, when I was younger, I would do things that were just, my mom's friend, was wondering if I could do a portrait or, I think
Oh, yeah.
everybody kind of did that kind of stuff in some way or another. And then in different ways, but then that just gradually becomes like, hey, this is something, that I wasn't sure it was possible. I think one of the things that to tell a young artist is that there are so many things that are possible with art, it is
Mhm.
very possible. So, um, and doable and, not, a straight, easy path.
Yeah.
But, there are difficult things, but that's the beauty of it too. That's what goes into the art.
Yeah.
All of
Oh,
that is
yeah.
the most important part of the art.
That's what I would say about the surrealism in your art. How did that
Mhm.
creep in? Was that something to do with dreams? What brought that into your work?
Oh man. Well, that again, which part of it could you, the technical part of it, the actual like paint and how it looks on the canvas or the way that I incorporate my, life story into my work or
Yeah, well, all of that, yeah. Like
yeah.
if you started off with portraits, it's a very subjective thing, isn't it? You get a likeness, and that's quite a dry outcome. But where is it that you went? I mean, somewhere along the line, you must have went. There's more to it than this. And I can see it right there behind you. So when did that creep in? When did that wild brush stuff come in? Where you said, I'm flying loose here. And, you know, likeness
That
be
was
damned.
always there too, but I think in terms of like we make that the the comparison of, you know, thinking about whether you can do art for a living or you just have art in your life. The same thing kind of applies to like me with the different things that I did with art that I love, actually combining them, like a turning point, like a specific, and there was never a time where I was like, this is my style, you know, like
Yeah.
I'm gonna do this. It's so like again, gradually became a mix of like all the things that I love. And I'm always diving into something new. I'm always challenging that. It's just a really important thing to me about art because it's not just challenging the technical part of it, but myself and
Yeah.
showing me something I don't know again and again and again and learning, you know,
Yes.
just continuing to learn all the time is really important to me
Yeah.
and it helps me in life, you know, and all the other kinds of things that we have to go through and deal with, even though it seems like a small scale, like you're making a piece of art and that how does it help you with life, you know, but it
Yeah.
really does. It's we can say like, did I get past that time where I felt insecure about what I was doing at the moment, you know, in this art piece that I was doing? So yeah, then I can also do this other thing that I wasn't sure I could do, you know?
Yeah. Oh,
Mhm.
that's great. Yeah, the eternal art student and the internal student of life is. I went all California there, didn't I? Vanessa, sorry, it must be rubbing off on me. But yeah, there is that, isn't it? There's that. If you have that inner sort of love for the thing, it really shows on the canvas as well. And that's what I see in your work there. That's why I wanted to ask about that. But
Yeah.
was there a point, Vanessa, like for most of us anyway, where you have to buy the paints and brushes? Did you do other work, other jobs to support your art at the beginning? And did you choose
Yeah.
a job that was artistic in some way?
Yeah. Always art related. Um, I mean, I had some jobs that weren't, you know, and I would still do art and I would do like art shows. I would be in group shows and but be a waitress somewhere or something, you
Yeah,
know. I worked in, you know, art jobs like you know, graphic design type things
yeah.
or um doing illustration for like a small art supply store. I worked for them
Yeah.
for a while and um, you know, working at Tower Records doing their the old school things that we used to do with Tower Records where we would spray do like murals like
Oh, yeah.
uh, and spray paint and stuff. Yeah. That kind of stuff way back when, just trying to think of all the different things. I was definitely an illustrator. I was for a greeting card company for 8 years. That
So
was
was
long.
I.
Yeah. I didn't
Yeah.
know that about you,
Yeah,
Patrick.
no. Well, that's what I always say to students of there's always some kind of something that you can get into because they need so much of it. And greeting cards
Yeah,
is
yeah.
it.
Thing about that, I don't know how you're where you worked, but I worked in the hand of a specific artist. So
I
we
had to
had to
do that too.
be
Yeah. Yeah.
okay, yeah. So that's a little different. It's not your, you know, your own
That's
line
right.
of greeting cards. So that, yeah.
Yeah,
Uh,
I worked for a guy called Donnie Mac, and he just was famous for teddy bears. And he asked me to do a rabbit one day, and I started thinking of a rabbit. I was doing a Disney kind of rabbit. He says, "No, no, just draw the teddy bear and put rabbit ears on it."
I love it. Oh
Because it
my
had
God.
to be exactly that same face on everything. And I thought, you
Hmm.
just change the ears. He
Hmm.
says, just put rabbit ears on it.
Yeah,
Otherwise, it's not Donnie Mac. He was
that's
all about his brand. And he was
hmm
right. I put rabbit ears on. I thought, okay, this is easy. I don't have to think so hard. But
that's
after a
funny.
while, of course, you want to do your own thing.
After a while, for sure. I mean,
I
I
saw it
give
on
you
your face there.
so much
After a
credit.
while.
I mean, really. Uh, because you're super repetitive
Oh
in
yeah.
that kind of line of work because you have like specific things like holidays that you're always doing. And
Hmm.
so how many different ways can you say, you know, these different things for these holidays, these sentiments? And
Yeah.
you can always think of something that applies to the times or the way you are in your life at the moment. I really put myself into it a lot when I thought about those. But I never felt obviously that that was me. I was working in someone else's hand. I learned so much from that
Yeah.
job though.
Yeah.
So yeah, yeah.
Well, that's a good advice as well, that you learn
Mhm.
so much, I used to look back on those days as lost years, and until I realized that you got so much out of it. There were so many
Yeah.
shortcuts you had to take, and then when you have the leisure time, those shortcuts became finesse. Just go, oh, this is an easy thing. I've done it 100,000 times. This is an easy thing. So it
Hmm.
taught you to be kind of slick, something you'd have to cut back later and go, it's too slick. But it did give you that, didn't it, Vanessa? It give you that sort of
Absolutely.
that confidence that you have a lot of time now, where once upon a time you were always under the cosh. So a
Hmm.
little bit of everything helps, doesn't it? That it was
Yeah.
it became miserable at the end. I know it must have been the same for you, where you go, I can't, not another rabbit. I can't do another ear. I can't,
It's funny.
but how did you
But
leap?
it,
How did you jump ship?
they really made they did some downsizing. It was like good timing all around for everyone for that.
Yeah.
Just speaking to the younger artists, like you mentioned in the beginning, that you said,
Yeah.
what kind of advice would you give? You got to, I think business classes might be a good thing to invest
Yeah.
in, or at least like, study online if you can on YouTube or whatever you need to do to
Yeah.
understand business better in some way.
Yeah. Hold
Uh,
on while I try to, I've got to try and just re-support my spine, which just collapsed there. Oh, there we go. Yeah, business
What
class
what
still haven't. I still haven't taken one. I'm still running by the seat of my pants.
I say that from experience. I haven't either. I was, how do I even do this? And just I learned as I went. And I felt like 2 decades passed by and I was learning as I went the entire time. And I didn't like the amount of time or to take that time to invest in the time of taking the classes like that was just like not an option once it was like off and rolling, and
Yeah.
then boom, here we are,
Yeah.
so it's crazy. I do think that investing in that in the beginning, but also allowing yourself to learn as you go because it's always changing.
Yeah.
So
I
Are
think
yeah.
there
that's
any notable lessons you learned during that period?
Well, I mean, probably the biggest is a blanket, answer, but patience, just,
oh.
yeah, that's my biggest thing that I learned.
Yeah, I think that comes with
Patience.
it does, it comes with time. Well, you're feeling that now, aren't you, Rachel Melly? Look how calm the Virginians are. Uh, when we first came on here, we were all over the shop, weren't we? But look how we're becoming more and more professional all the time. A bit of patience with it. I think I talk too much, so I'm gonna leave it with the Virginians and the chat room for a while there, and I'll sit back here for a bit.
I
Oh,
like
okay.
hearing you talk. I'm just
I
I'm just
ramble.
along for the ride here.
I'm a
Oh, I
rambler.
had one question I wrote down before the podcast. It kind of goes with it. If you had to start over today, like, is there anything different you would do? Are there anything like anything in today's world that you would be taking advantage of if you were younger, maybe?
The way that we can, like what we're doing right now. Uh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
so I'm not able to visit everyone in person, and see everyone that way. I wish I could, but I'm so glad that I can do this kind of thing with everybody, from all over the place. So that's what I've always loved now about teaching. Is if I am teaching online, it's online and it's like with people all over the world. It's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah, that stuff's crazy. Like just having conversations with people in South Africa, Australia, Canada, like all over the place. Like we have a
Mhm.
room with Patrick students, and I think they're meeting right now. Like every week they're meeting, and we'll have 3 or 4 countries lined up in there at a time, and it's wild. It's crazy.
It really,
Yeah.
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 It's,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think so. Yeah, that would be, just to not lose sight of the connection that we have this way, the opportunities to stay connected. and be genuine. I mean, we can have good conversation. It doesn't have to be, the same kinds of things we see on online and the mask of it all, but to, reach out to people that you feel like you really want to stay connected with, and create that, I think is really cool thing that we can do now. And of course, a lot of us are very good at also being by ourselves a lot. So that's good too, but I feel like, that community is really good to keep together.
Yeah, I agree. Vanessa, I'm just looking at this piece here. I've never seen it before.
Oh
What
yeah.
were you thinking here? Is this is
Well.
this Hades? Is this
Oh man.
multiple changes in your personality? What is happening here? It's
Oh, that I
brilliant.
love that. I love that you are wondering, the different
Yeah.
things it could be. And that's why I love not really answering it directly.
Oh,
Uh,
nice one.
but this is, you'll see the final of this. This is a work in progress here.
Oh, Vanessa,
Um,
don't do anything else.
oh no, there is, but it's
No,
not
please
a
don't.
lot.
It's perfect. It's
No,
perfect
you'll
right
see.
now.
It's not a lot. It's
I'm gonna
not a
have to
lot.
take a photo shot of it then. I'm just gonna love it for how it is now.
Okay. I think you'll like it.
I love the looseness of the bottom of it, and then it
Yeah,
becomes more
absolutely.
finished.
It stayed loose for sure.
Yeah.
Um,
That is great.
hmm
That's
That's
my
all
new.
kind of like soil and gritty, and I want it to stay that way for sure.
That's my new
Uh,
favorite piece by you right there.
thank you.
Ah,
Yeah,
that's
I
sensational.
mean, it developed over time. There were lots of things that it was in there, um, but it became this. Uh, and sometimes it's just I see this kind of thing like faces all the time and everything, and sometimes I'll just say like, you know what? I don't know right now what's happening. I don't know what this is doing. I don't know where this is going, what this
Yeah.
is even, but I see this, so I'm just going to keep painting. I see this, so I'm just going to keep painting and keep
Yeah.
going, keep going. And then there you go. And sometimes I, feel like I completely wrecked a piece by doing that too. And,
Yeah.
and just, um, but I'm in the moment, and at that time, I'm dripping paint and throwing stuff, and just carving out these faces in there that I saw, and that's really how it started to develop.
Yeah. I think what fascinated me as well, Vanessa, was your methods. I mean, we all go to the art store and you go to the kitchen and pull out spatulas and forks, if I'm not mistaken, or some kind of
That's
utensils you
good.
don't get in the art store. Is that correct?
Yeah, I do. I do. That spatula is one of my favorite things to paint with. Yep.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
it's a great result. I can hear those voices. I can hear them murmuring and stuff. The ones at the
Oh,
bottom.
I love that. Great.
That's
Yeah, I like
terrific.
that. Like your stuff seems to like sing, I don't know, it just has like a life behind it. And how do you like develop that? Like, because you've done really well developing that, like a voice in your art.
Hmm. Oh man. Well, whew, that's a big one, right? I
I'm
mean,
Yes.
sorry.
uh, you know, I fight a lot with all of it. I think the biggest fight I have in myself over the pieces I make is whether it's truly me in all ways it can be. So, and I fight what I mean by that is that I fight the thinking that I need to put something in there, to make sense of something. Or I fight the need to go tight with something. I see when I go tight with something, it's not about the tightness and the thing that I do love getting into that. I love doing it. But there was an essence there that was already there, and I had it, like you were saying earlier, don't wreck that,
Yeah.
leave it, that loose thing back through there. That is what I think I go back and forth all the time with, is the loose and tight. But I think it's not just about the technical thing. When I get into tightness, it's a lot of like this proving, it's more about sometimes like thinking of everyone else, and who is going to see it. And it's like a proving to yourself, proving to them that you're like capable of
Oh,
of you know
yes. I know
And
exactly what you're saying.
it's strange because when I see someone who I just am like enamored with their work, it's usually the looseness of it. It's the like the freedom it looks like, you know.
So,
So then I think, well, why am I even, why
yes,
is tight the equivalent of that?
yeah,
But that's when I start knowing that I'm thinking way too much about other people and how
yes,
they're going to see it
yeah.
than I'm thinking about and not thinking, you know, really just allowing myself to be in that moment.
That's such a
So,
strange dichotomy, isn't it? Because
yeah,
I think I'm the same, and I think really do even do I th am I really pleasing the people I think I'm pleasing? Because I think really deep down everyone wants you to just be completely selfish and do what you love, and they'll come along for the ride. That's what I
right.
believe now,
Yeah.
and yet I
Yeah.
still, same as
Absolutely.
you, maybe it's a bit of imposter syndrome, where
Yeah, that definitely.
yeah,
Yes.
of course I can
And
do
it
tight.
comes from if you're allowing yourself to just make marks and be in the flow, like this kind of sketching, I do it every day.
Me too. Yeah,
And it's like just allow that and these will be things maybe or they won't. They'll just be in my sketchbook for the time that I spent doing them.
yeah,
And then I can look through them and go, oh wow, what is happening there? This is neat. Like looseness, and it's that's me right there, you know?
yeah,
That's me in a moment that I'm not thinking about any of that stuff we were just talking about.
yeah.
And those things I can be reminding myself, I can look back at and go, that's you. Remember that's you right there. But
Yes, that's
also
good.
that
Yeah.
we are all of it. You know, we are the one the also the ones that have that kind of feeling of imposter syndrome and start to get noodly and tight with everything and thinking about where it's going. It's usually is it's for something, you know, and
Yes,
it's
it's
not
forced.
that moment you're sitting with your cat sketching on your couch, you know.
Yeah,
It's because it's going to be in a show or, you know, this other thing that like starts to feel heavy on what, you know,
yeah.
how will it be perceived and
The weight of an artist's life. And do you have a name for it? I do it too, Vanessa. I call it streams of consciousness when I'm just sitting there scribbling. Do you
oh,
call it something?
absolutely. Yeah.
Do you say
Yeah.
something? I'm gonna do something. Do you, or do you just pick
No.
up the book? Yeah,
Yeah, I just start making marks and
yeah,
that's really how I start these. This one, all of these that you're showing. That's
yeah,
how I start them. But
yeah,
I'll start them in, you know, in oil. I mean, if they're the oil paintings.
yeah,
They don't start in like a pen, you know, drawing or whatever, but
yeah. That's a wonderful face. I love that you haven't. I love that you've gone the opposite of what most people would do, where they can't wait to get to the eyes and make that big highlight on a big black pupil, and you've completely grayed it out and given it this mystical. You feel that that person is being possessed or something. It's beautiful. I love it. Are they
yeah.
being possessed? What's happening?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Love it.
She's a foreteller.
Oh, excellent.
So she's
An
like a
oracle.
seer. Yeah.
Wow. And I love the off-centeredness of it as well. This is when I start to see, you know how you were saying, Vanessa, we all try to please by putting in this detail where I love everything that you've done here. I love that it's off center, it's asymmetrical, it's breaking all the rules. And as an artist to an artist, I love it all. I love all of that. So I think, from my own personal experiences, that I wish I had done more of that earlier. Just enjoy.
Uh, I do too. I wish
Yeah,
that too about myself.
stop worrying about everybody else.
But
Because
you
and it's
know,
it's
um,
unselfish, but it's being
if
generous.
There's like this
had
Stan Lee
though,
quote, like he said someone asked him like how he comes up with ideas, and he makes the stories to please himself, and he said, and along the way he learned that like he's not that different from other people. It's
Oh,
like
that's good.
there's some quote from him like that like you do it for yourself, then other people will come to you.
yeah. I think though, what I was gonna say is, if I had done that, you know, like you're saying, I wish I had done this sooner, or if I had, it wouldn't be what it is right
That's
now,
true.
you
It's
know,
true. It's
because
such a
there's this
dilemma.
absolute love for it that I
Yeah,
don't think that I truly appreciated yet
yeah,
in those times I was doing it. Because I can look back at some of those really raw things I was doing when I was younger and go, oh, there's some neat qualities in that, you
yeah,
know. but there's also this other thing that wasn't there yet, that I didn't know about myself yet, so it wasn't
Yeah,
going to be there.
that's right. And did you find, I do personally, but did you find, Vanessa, that when you were teaching, you were becoming a better artist?
I do, but again, the word better is such a hard,
Oh, that
because
is, yeah. Yeah, it's subjective,
I
yeah.
think there's a skill part of it for sure. I mean, having to take someone's paintings and correct color or correct the perspective on something, actually like work on their work, and the patience involved with that, like I was mentioning
Patience.
before,
Yeah.
understanding, there's a human being here that you're also working with. You're not just like, let me go through and fix this and change it, but actually
Yeah.
talk to them about what's happening. And then, but there's also, uh, oh man, what was I saying? Blah, I lost my
No,
train of
that's
thought
just,
there.
those are streams of consciousness.
Yeah, yeah.
No, I know
We
what
we
you
got a
mean.
question in the chat
Yeah.
I can throw in.
Go on.
Mason and Art, it asks, any tips with dealing with imposter syndrome?
Yeah, there you go. There's a big
Well,
question.
I think like when we were talking about the sketchbook, those if you can find, yeah, ones like this right here, those are just, honestly start with just scribbling and all that. The thing about these is that um they help, or anything. You don't have to do a pen and ink drawings in your sketchbook. You could do whatever you want. You could make marks with random tools. I can tell a story about the ink sketchbooks because I have tons of them now. And it started with a challenge to myself where I said, I can't really do the Inktober stuff, that everyone does. I can't do it. I don't have time. And I was thinking, I have time to do that. I
Yes.
mean, and there's a time where I look at my phone for 10 minutes in a row, of course, in a day that I could skip that and do the drawing. And so in the beginning, it became this thing that I was like trying to do, like purposefully. I needed to draw an ink in my sketchbook. I must draw.
That's
And
great.
then it became, I absolutely fell in love with it and I could not do it. I did tons and tons at a time. I just, and they evolved into this big thing for me that there was just such a cool thing with it. The thing that it taught me was about that imposter syndrome, that these things are possible, that make a change in whatever it is, but it's definitely a change in your thinking. And how can you do that? It's easy to say, just change your thinking about, I'm not, that sounds rude. I don't mean it that way, but how you can do that are in ways like this, where you take things, you don't know what they are, you don't know these tools, you've never worked with them before, or you don't know them very well, and you just go, you know what, I'm going to do it. And with ink, I know ink, but it's so immediate and it's just so opposite of how I work, with the way that it just dries and it's there, there's no moving it around. For me,
Yeah.
it was like a challenge to, what do I do with that? How do I start to work with that in a way that makes sense? I'm not trying to work like someone else. How would I do it? How would I use this tool? And it was always like this challenge thing.
Yeah.
And that imposter syndrome, it helps with getting to see that you can push past this feeling of not knowing and not being secure about it. Um, and again, the community, like if you have imposter syndrome, if you're at like an event, just start talking to people, because honestly, you're going to find that everybody is just amazing and helpful. And reach out again to people that you are interested in, or maybe having a dialogue with, or all that helps with the imposter syndrome for sure. We
Yeah.
all can like lift each other up.
Yeah. That's a good point. Now, Vanessa, you just said y'all there. Are you from Virginia originally? Am I feeling that? Or was I mistaken?
Did I
No?
say
Yeah. I was just wondering because I've heard Americans are the most traveled within their country of anyone else in the whole world, that they travel within that landscape more than and any other peoples. I was just wondering.
mm,
I just heard of y'all there. But are you
I,
native Californian, born and bred, and is that where you've come from as well?
I was born in Northern California and I live in Southern California now.
All
Yeah.
right. Okay. And I've always felt that there was an art community along that coast. Did you feel that there was plenty of art in your life immediately accessible, or was it a harder thing than I'm imagining?
Immediately accessible. Yeah, I mean, where I lived, I was very near San Francisco. There's
Yeah.
lots there to go to as far as museums, and definitely museums in the town I grew up into.
Oh, that's great.
Um, but we also traveled to go, see different art things and all kinds of art, not just, going to museums, but all kinds of things. And crafty things, too. And I've always been into so many different kinds of art, and music, definitely into music too. So just creative minded, creative um life, just the with all of that, I've always been very interested in um the arts,
Yeah.
So you find it in your community, you just kind of do. And then nature, and definitely just being in nature is
Ah,
always inspiring.
I
Um,
see that in your work. Yeah. It feels like nature even in the portraits as well.
yeah.
So, Vanessa, how did you end up in illustration? How did that happen?
Um, I think illustration was a thing that in the beginning it kind of tied in with, I mean, I'm, in my my experience being, I don't know, maybe older than some of the other people watching this. There was this kind of crossing over of like graphic design and illustration as I was young and trying to figure things out, which I think is a lot more separated now, and different,
Mhm.
Um, so I kind of was going that route in the beginning because I felt like um, I didn't know what I could do with the other part of doing art, like painting and drawing and all that. But so this would felt like more like something you could do, to
Yeah.
study and to have a career. And then as soon as I was in school, and that was my major in the beginning, I changed it as to studio painting, and that was what I focused on. Um, but illustration, I don't even know. I've talked about this before because I think that was an early on mindset about what I wanted to do, and then I was really just I felt like if we had to separate fine art and illustration, which again back in that time was
Yeah.
really separated. Even
Very
people had
much. Yeah.
like different names.
Yeah.
Um, and I think that was like a separate time. And then as I started to do these things, like illustrate book interiors and covers or that kind of thing, then that just came from never really belonging to a specific thing.
Yeah.
And so I was doing a lot of what I felt like was like the gallery shows, group shows, and teaching as well, and more of that traditional kind of, the foundation drawing and painting classes,
Yeah.
um, from observation, and having all the different people in that were from all the different walks of life that were there to take the classes. A lot of illustrators, a lot of people going into games, were taking those kinds of classes, and still are. Um, I felt like all of that world just kind of like tied in, crossed over all the time for me. And then, but I never really submitted to things. And I think that once I started, I don't know what made me feel as if one day I could do that, but I did. And then when I did, this kind of work got into things like, spectrum or that kind of thing, which I never really knew that I could. Um, so, and I think sometimes there were people that really reached out to me that expressed that I should, or I could, you should put this, submit this to, something. And that
Yeah.
was really helpful for me. And like going back to that conversation about helping lift each other up, I feel like it's
Yeah.
always, I've gotten that from some people, and that really has helped me in ways I didn't understand then, that I look back and go, wow, that opened up this huge thing for me. Because then
Yeah.
this came and this came and this came that
Yeah.
I didn't know then, at all that that was going to do that. And yeah,
I think
so
that's
that's
what's
how
wonderful.
really it came
Yeah.
about. It wasn't like,
Yeah. I think that's what's wonderful about the art community. It's different from corporate, isn't it? Where people are standing on top of each other to get to where they need to go. where what you just said there, I have just, that's my whole mantra in life. If you lift someone up, you're immediately elevated as well. And
Yeah, I
why
know.
that
Yeah,
isn't so easy to see from so many different perspectives is beyond me, because that's what I always see now. The minute you do that, everyone's elevated. And
absolutely.
and it's
Hmm.
the most beautiful thing too, because it takes away distrust as well. You go, oh, I'm so, who's is that someone lifting me up now? Because I feel great. And then you carry on that whole thing. It's an act of kindness that is not a burden at all.
No,
Um,
yes, I
That's
100% agree with everything you just said there.
yeah,
Absolutely. Hmm.
yeah. But it is so true. I mean, when was your first Deluxe Con, Vanessa? Can you remember? Was it the first one or was it after that?
Oh
I
no,
think
I didn't. I went. I don't know when the first one was, but I started.
2008 it was. 2008.
Yeah, so I went several years later. I started going in like 2014, 2015. I
Oh yeah,
can't remember. Yeah.
yeah. It was such a great community, wasn't it? I just
Oh,
remember every year I went there, I just went, I'm in another home. It just felt like going into a cozy room again. Everyone was
yeah,
so nice. It was so wonderful.
I
And
agree.
yeah, and I haven't gone for a long. It's that organic thing, because COVID just threw the boat into the water, didn't it? And you just went in different. Everyone went in different directions. I love Pat and Jeannie, and I love the whole thing, but I haven't been back for ages, because
Yeah.
organically other things happened. I ended up in Europe. So that just happens, doesn't it? But that's what this
Mhm.
show is about. It's about, if you're adrift without a rudder, how do you get to the next point? So was there
Mhm.
times when, like I said, how did you get into illustration? There must have been a point where you go, I need to work now to do this thing I love. What were those moments when you went, I can't do this. I have to buy art supplies. What do I do next? How did you actually walk into a room and get an illustration job? How did that come about?
It didn't come about for me in the way that you're saying it, where you go into a room and like show her portfolio or something like
Yeah.
that, I think is what you mean.
Yes.
Um, no, it was more in the continuing to kind of be out there and to be connected with these people, like you were saying, with the different you know different avenues of art that I'm in, that I kind of try to, I just want to be in, so I just um I don't know, I just do what I do.
You
And
do.
there isn't a thing where I was like, I'm going to look like, I'm going to do my art this way so that I can get this.
Yeah.
I've never done that.
You never pursued like the money, trying to make money with art,
I don't
just like
even
the
know if
art.
I don't know if I can say that I've never pursued the money, but yeah, I mean, I always have been like, I'm doing the art for the art's sake, for the experience of it. But of course, yeah, like as far as needing to make uh money to pay your, bills and everything else, there is a way of figuring out, how you do that. And I think mine's always been a combination of so many things. Um, so, and I just have always continued to do my work, no matter whether at one point it was more the other thing and not as much of this. I still always was doing it. Um, yeah. There's no real like black and white or like beginning and end, or what I was then and now I'm doing this. I don't.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
really has. Yeah.
Well, I want to leave it with Rachel and Melody, but before I do, this is my new favorite, Vanessa Lemen. I know I said that earlier, but this is my new favorite.
You're just gonna keep doing that.
I just love that. That's amazing. Everything about
This
that is just
this
gorgeous.
one is one of my personal favorites, and
Yeah.
this is so much about. I mean, this is from one of the interior illustrations for the Left Hand of Darkness that I was just super honored to be able to get that illustration job.
What is that, Vanessa, for everyone else? What is The Left Hand of Darkness?
It's a novel by Ursula K. Le Guin.
Oh, I illustrated her years ago too. Yeah. Okay. I wonder
Yeah,
why I'm so familiar. She wrote me a lovely letter once. I wondered
nice.
who would take the time for one illustrator to send a letter to say thank you
I
for.
know.
Isn't
Yeah,
that so nice? I've never had that before.
yeah. I was able to have some good conversations through the people who or to the people who asked me if I wanted to take this job on, which of
Yeah.
course I was like, yeah. Um, and it was so difficult because she leaves it so open,
Yeah.
the interpretation of this book, and especially, and that's really what she's about. And it's not, it's about so many things. So it was really, I felt the honor is in the knowing that someone saw me, you know,
Yeah.
saw that I would be good, for this. For me, that's like, what are you talking about? It's amazing. I mean, this
Yeah.
is such a cool thing. So that's just it means so much to me. And of course, then I want to, do the best I can. And but so much emotion went into these. I was feeling a lot at this time going through. My dad passed away right after this had come out, and so there was just a lot of that in here too. Yeah, yeah.
Really beautiful. And
Yeah.
that concentration of detail and then letting that oasis of non-detail is just masterful. I think that a lot of people starting out maybe put too much into every corner. This is just a master class in how to compose with values, I think. I think it's beautiful. I love it.
Thank you.
I like how it
Absolutely.
looks like a sky with the cloud, like all of
Yeah,
that looks really cool.
yeah. This was at a really neat kind of turning point in the story. In the turning point, meaning trust. This was uh, all trust here.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and again, just I felt like this was such a neat thing to be able to work on for the lessons I learned from doing these pieces. So,
Beautiful. And that would be going on into a more an idea of how to make a living in art. I think that what's missing with digital art is that you don't have a secondary income with original art. You've painted this
oh,
for a book cover, you've got paid for the book cover, and now you've got an original art to sell. So I would
yeah,
encourage people to do that, make more
you're
original art.
right. And I think that people don't think about that though, Patrick. I think you
Yeah,
bring it up because we kind of like are on this side of knowing, pre digital
yeah,
in a way, and then trying to make our way through how is this going to happen for us now that people are making digital art and it can happen
yeah,
faster and it's already there, to send to your art director and you don't have to scan it or photograph, all that kind of
yeah,
stuff. So I think there's the uh no, I don't think all people really think about that, but there is that secondary thing, like you were saying, that's really a neat thing.
yeah,
um, a good, great thing about being a traditional painter and uh, getting it to use it for your illustration jobs.
yeah.
It's really how I work best if I need to, get the things out the way that I want them to be. And that means everything, in terms of the looseness and the, all the things that are make my work what they are, and it's going to be definitely this traditional way. Um, so I wouldn't change it anyway.
Me neither.
But I do like working digitally, and I like messing around. I haven't really been doing a lot of it these days, but I like also being really experimental with it as well. Um, but yeah, I've just really started to mainly hone in on the traditional with everything, how everything's been going with a lot of different things too. Um, I feel like it's really pushed me into just staying very traditional with things.
Wonderful.
We have a couple questions in the chat. You want to get them, Melanie?
Yeah. So Leo German asks, is there an artist who has really inspired you throughout your life?
Uh, yeah, I have a few artists that I think inspired me throughout my life. Hmm, I think there's things that shifted with what I was really into. What inspired me when I was younger maybe changed, and I started liking a lot of other things. There are artists that I know, there are artists that are, like master painters that, but you know, when I was younger and studying kind of painting academically, Rembrandt was probably strong with me, and um, Andrew Wyeth, just
Yeah.
love his work. That again is a lot about the mood and the emotion that's in there. Vashigan Narazian, which I hope I didn't butcher in the way that I said his name, but I've written a couple articles on him in Muddy Colors. You can look it up in my list of articles there.
We'll put that
And
in the link.
James Gleason, I love James Gleason.
I don't know that artist actually. Vanessa James Gleason.
Oh man,
Is it abstract?
yeah, abstract, but you could when you know when you look up his work, you can see, oh yeah, I could see, you know, what she loves about this, you know, just in knowing my work. This kind of like balance of abstract and realism, like to make us really think about what realism means. You know, that it doesn't mean this like incredibly tightly rendered, you know, uh, over the top photorealistic kind of thing. It's what is realism? You know, like
Yeah.
I mean, we can get into that for
Good.
a long conversation because it's a lot. It's very dreamlike, but it's also very much how we see a lot of things in the lost and found, and the way that our emotion plays a part in how we see things.
Yeah.
You
That's a
know,
cool one.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's weird, isn't it?
Yeah, I like that one.
I love this stuff in the corner too. Beautiful. Weird. I love the
yeah,
weird. And of
yeah, I
course
do
we
too.
all do, don't we? We're in fantasy art for that reason.
Yeah, Beksinski for sure. Probably got to throw that in there because he's a big one, more in like the last decade or so for me, especially. I got to know his work better, you know, and really looking at it a lot more.
I'm going to make you a little bit jelly, Vanessa. And this will give me a chance to go to Pedrig's Cabinets of Curiosity. Hold on a second.
Oh man, yeah.
Oh,
Sorry, I just had to
hey,
make you a little bit jelly there. This
that's
was,
another big one. These
is
giant
it? It's
books you
huge.
have.
Yeah.
And you know how much I love art? I had to throw a lot of clothes away to get this through the airport because it's so
Worth
heavy.
it.
That was presented to me in Poland at a fantasy convention that I was
That's
a test
amazing.
at. Look at that. And the minute they handed it to me, I went, I've got to throw some clothes away. That's all I thought when I saw that book. So
Yeah,
you,
yeah. I have some books of his. That looks like a beautiful book, and I love books.
yeah, me
So
too. Love them. Go on, Melanie.
All right, so we have another question in the chat from Jazz. So he said, "Hello, y'all. How do you guys tackle the feelings, thoughts of not caring what everyone else thinks? That seems to be a stopping force with displaying my artwork. Yet my close group says it's amazing."
Mm.
yeah, listen to that close group more. You know, take them serious. You know, that's a big. Look at her my ham cat there.
That's a beautiful cat. That's
This
a
the
well-groomed
camera
cat.
is against the easel facing us. I'm painting, and she just sits there and watches me paint. It's just amazing. I love
Oh
it.
my God.
Yeah. Little
Yeah,
wink to the audience as well.
yeah, yeah.
Melanie had asked a question just about worrying about what other people think about what you're
Yeah.
doing. It
Yeah,
seems
and
like you follow like the people who want you to do well, you listen to them, and then people you have to sort out the voices that don't matter as
I
well.
feel, yeah, I feel I can't say that I don't care about what people think. So, I mean, you know, I feel like in a way I'm not a good person to answer that question, but then I'm also going to just be real about it. I don't think there's any person that doesn't get that. I mean, I
Yeah.
think they'd be lying if they said that, you know? I think we all get it, but I think what really helps is truly knowing yourself. But then again, knowing that you will never truly know yourself, but to know yourself as well as you can, and that to trust that, and with that comes trusting yourself. So trusting that, you know, your want to, whatever it is that you're having those doubts about, your want to be doing this with your work, or what you did in it, is it good enough, that kind of thing. um, um, like, I think just remember that your work is always showing you what you know and what you don't know, and then to be okay with that too.
Yeah.
What do I see in this that I need to fix? What are my strong, you know, points? What are my strong, you know, parts about myself? Then my strengths, then really worked on, then use those in those moments where you need to learn something else and you're aware of it, you've been made aware of it, but lean on the strengths while you learn the other things, you know. um but I think there's something when I teach like sketchbook classes, there's all these, like, that kind of thing right there where you're just like, you know what, I'm just gonna put this blue paint right over the cross at the top of this painting.
Yeah.
It's, I know what's going to happen. I know it's going to be okay. You
It's going to be
know, with
okay. Yeah. Yeah.
that, doing that right there helps me get past the feelings of the question. It's not totally exactly related, but this is what helps to throw
Yeah.
yourself into these positions of knowing you don't know anything,
Yeah.
and then you go through it, and you show yourself that you actually did know some things, and that you are pretty good at this, and that, you know, all these kinds of things that,
Yeah.
yeah, again, life and art crossing over.
Yeah. There's a couple of things you said there that made me think as well, Vanessa. Like when you said it'll be okay. I remember a friend of mine, I was in Vancouver, I was visiting a model of mine, and she was really filled with angst about something. I says, you'll be okay. You know, 5 years from now, everything will be fine.
Yeah.
And even sooner. And I saw her face light up. And I think that with perspective, everything is okay. You know, we worry
Mhm.
too much about the now and just let it ride, and everything will be okay. And another thing you said as well about knowing ourselves. I said to my
Mhm.
wife the other day, I says, do you think you know yourself? And she says, yeah. I says, how long have you known yourself? And she says, since she was 12. I, I went, I don't know who I am. I still don't know who I am. I wonder if it's an art thing. Is it the
Yeah.
artists that are always trying to find out who they are? I mean, I nearly dropped off my perch. What? You've known
Yeah, I
yourself
know.
since you were 12? What the
You know
hell?
what's funny though, because I can think about something. I can think about, say, you know, those photos you see yourself when you were 12 and you
I
go,
know.
wow, I did know who I was then. You know, like, I want to get to know that person
Yeah,
right there that I'm looking at. I want to find her again, you
yeah.
know?
That's
Um,
interesting.
so there is something to that,
Yeah.
I think,
Yeah,
what she's saying.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's strange. I had more confidence when I was 20 than I do now.
Oh man, yeah.
It's really weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
hmm
I think it's because I
There are
didn't know
some
how
things
much
that
there
are very
was.
much that, and then other things I feel a lot more confident for sure.
Yeah.
And those are more like with myself. I like understanding myself and knowing the things that I do and my tendencies, and knowing that, again, it's okay. That I am different in some ways, and that's actually great, you know. And that I feel awkward. All those things are what I love about myself, even though they also are difficult, you know. But I
Yeah.
love that I get that, those feelings about things, being human, you know, the
Yeah.
experience of that. So
Yeah. I used to walk into a party, I go, the party started. And now I'll walk into a party and I'll go, which way can I get skirt around the edges here so I can get out the back door, you know? It's sort of weird, isn't
yeah,
it? It's so strange. It's so odd.
yeah, I
But I'm
can,
more confident as well, like you say, a lot more confident in different ways. Just the party,
yeah.
I think it might be that disappeared. See that? I don't know. These are gorgeous. Uh, yeah, back to Rachel and Melanie, because I don't like to hog the whole thing. The Virginians, what have we got? Questions from yourselves or from the audience?
You had some, Melanie. You could ask one of yours.
Melee.
Yeah, I was yeah, I had a few questions. I was curious, how do you balance your exploration and your just like experimentation with commercial demands? I don't know if that really asked the questions that I want to ask, but I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, I do. I know what you mean. It actually happens a lot. That question gets asked. I get that asked that question a lot because there are like speaking at workshops or that kind of thing where you get to have one-on-one with different artists that are there for to learn about making a living doing this. So they're asking those kinds of questions in a way that, like, when I say like this sketching right here that I'm doing in this video,
Oh,
I
paint.
what.
I just got shocked there when you pulled the paint out. Sorry, it was supposed to be an internal thought and it just came out.
Yeah, it's for me, this is not a waste of time, but I've actually heard at, when I'm teaching workshops, like, I don't have time for that. It's a waste of my time,
Who said
that
that?
um because their time is precious. They're thinking I need to build my, my portfolio up. I need finished pieces. This is wandering and never, having something that I can end up putting in my portfolio, is in their mind.
Yeah.
That's in the mind of that person at, a lot of times. And uh I, again, cannot stress, first of all, how much this helps you with so many other things, than not just the thinking about a finished piece and a sketch like this.
Yeah.
But so there's that. And then there's also the figuring out, like, I do things, I make marks, cover areas in ways that I go, oh, like, yes, I solved the problem in this piece that I'm working on that I need to get done for this job that I have, by doing these kinds of things over here. You can make it really focused. You can say, I'm going to sit down and make, a lot of atmospheres, right? What does that even mean? How will I make these kind of marks to do this
Yeah.
kind of thing that I'm trying to solve in this painting I'm working on that I'm having trouble with? So you can make them focus that way too, in a broad way, not like focused on, like, I'm going to draw eyes, try to,
Yeah.
but just really like in this way that you're trying to solve this thing. But
Yeah.
sometimes the solving comes in just like getting this out of your system and getting
Yeah.
back to, you know, um, your piece that you need to sit down and finish.
Yeah.
Um, but I can't, I never can stress this enough how important this
I
is.
agree.
Um,
I
yeah,
totally agree. It's never a waste of time. In fact, you know what it is, Vanessa, I've found anyway, is that it actually reduces time in the final piece. So
it
there's no
does.
waste of time. You've actually gained time. I love
Yeah.
that. You
I
know,
know,
it's
and it feels like when
That's
you say
cool.
that and someone isn't really experienced with that, like, I don't mean to say it like experience versus, I just mean it like I do this a lot. So I know from that experience that I have gotten things done. I could sit at something and go, I must work on this. I must finish this and work on it all day. And then just say, oh my gosh, I need to just, do this random sketch over here. And then I can
absolutely.
just go back to that thing and it'll be like in 20 minutes, I solved the problem I was working on all day, just needing to like stay,
Yeah.
and work on that piece. So yeah.
You've touched the subject of burnout there, haven't you, Vanessa? And the answer to it. You've touched it
Uh,
right there. The answer to burnout is that, isn't it? It's to start remembering what it was you got into this for in the first place. It wasn't for deadlines. It was to
yeah,
do what you love.
true. That's true. Yep.
It's beautiful. I love it. I keep saying beautiful all the time. This has been a beautiful day. Maybe it's that Californian feeling I'm getting because you're in the room. But I've used beautiful more times than I've ever done in my life today. So I'll have to
I
get
mean, it's
another
a
one.
very
Well,
beautiful
thank you.
conversation.
Yeah, yeah, this
I,
is
I I
awesome.
really like your philosophy on life. I
Yeah,
think
Yeah.
me
it
too.
I just like started developing that kind of mindset recently, and I think it's helping me a lot. So just like viewing life as art,
That's great.
not
Oh,
just what you're putting on a piece of paper.
Yeah.
yeah.
I think that
Well,
is it. I think that's what Vanessa's bringing to the room today as well, is
mm,
that, so many artists do burn out. And it's because I think anyway, is that the love of art died in the commissions and they just are now working in a different world than they envisaged. Whereas you can have both, as long as you've always got the love of what you're doing inside of you. You can make even a commission something that you love as well. It's a tricky business. It's a tricky business. But I'm seeing in everything that Vanessa does here just the love of it from a child's love in a professional hand. I mean, look at that.
Well,
It's
well, and that's gonna be then. Thank you for that, Patrick. First of all,
welcome.
but that's gonna be the thing that is what whoever maybe buys this piece or whoever commissioned me to do this illustration or any of that, that is what they see in it really and feel in it. That is how that goes out wherever it goes, is not by trying to make something so that it gets
Yeah.
to be an illustration, or but to continue to do and find yourself in that, doing the work, and continue to do that. Just don't ever stop doing that.
Yeah.
And that's gonna be the thing. Your thing, your story, your.
Yeah. It's wonderful. Oh, there you go. I'm wonderful. Mr. Wonderful, Mr. Beautiful today. What it is, it's fantastic. Mr. Wonderful is a great name, isn't it, for a superhero?
It is.
Yeah.
It seems like you're very like focused on just guiding the energy like towards the art. And so like when you maybe get frustrated trying to get something right in a piece, you go to just going back and just enjoying the mark making. So that's
Yeah,
what the
just like
art's about.
playing.
And so you're recentering yourself and then you go back to that. You just have a very natural way of doing that. And I like that. I appreciate that. And it's very refreshing.
It is.
Oh, that's great to hear. Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, and there's also other ways that I find that I'll go for walks a lot. Um, and yeah, sometimes I do think there have been moments in my life. I think this crosses into the burnout kind of conversation where you think, I don't have to work 24/7. I've really been very strict with some boundaries in recent years, and because I am such I work all the time,
Yeah.
and I had to really think about what that meant, because there you have the videos of myself doing sketching in that loose way and stuff. To me, that's not necessarily work, although it does help me in my work. I need to allow for those things, but I also have to remember who I am. Like, I like to go for walks and on a trail or that kind of thing, and not forget, go sit at the beach and that kind of thing. Go lay in the grass in my yard and look at the sky. I mean, it doesn't have to be anything, like crazy. It can be very simple, but I have to really remind myself that I'm not working sometimes. I'm just really doing what I love,
Yeah.
and it just really crosses over so much that not to, be upset with myself that I wanted to come over here and work on this painting after I worked all day on this other painting. I
Yeah.
just really wanted to.
Yeah.
So,
Isn't that
yeah.
funny? That's funny. I think where we all end up. If only we knew that to our younger selves. My favorite part of the day now, or one of them anyway, is to take the little dog down so he can do his business in the garden while I look at the stars. That's my
Yeah.
favorite part of the day now. And I just really
Yeah.
enjoy that. See if I can see
Hmm.
Venus in the sky.
Hmm.
And I remember talking to Boris, and he said he used to work 16 hours a day. When I said to him, "How did you get all that out?" Because he was just on every book jacket. He says he works 16 hours a day. I thought, who can work 16 hours a day? And then I realized I also worked 16 hours a day when I
Yes.
worked in London. I would just work in the studio, get on the tube, wake up, come back to the studio again and work. And then I used to just sleep in the studio because I thought, what's the point in going home? I'd sleep on the floor and get up and work again. I mean, that's the life of a Victorian chimney sweep, isn't it? And we
I
self-imposed
I
it.
do it so much too. So,
Yeah.
and yeah, you don't become aware of that until, like you said, oh my gosh, how could you work 16? And then you look at your own schedule and go, hey,
Yeah.
yeah, that's what I'm doing. Um, yeah, I do work a lot, and I put myself in positions like purposefully sometimes, which is also, like abusing yourself by, like, don't, have caffeine and don't sleep and make yourself into this characters, for, doing these illustrations for Scanner Darkly that are just, just dreadful, in the lives of those characters. And so you're trying to, like, method act these things that you're painting. It's like there's a little stepping over, a boundary there
There is.
of maybe how far you go with that,
Yeah.
but I definitely do the same thing. I crash out here in the studio a lot, and I just sometimes feel like, how can I even do this? I don't know. Will I get, I know that I will, because I've done it before.
Yeah.
But sometimes I am so stressed that I put myself in this position of, waiting till the last minute, or all those other things,
Oh, the wait until the
or
last
just
minute.
something isn't working. Like, something isn't really working the way that I want it to work.
Yeah.
Um, and so, and I think, like, I can do this, when I put myself into a position um, something being last minute, sometimes those really great brushstrokes come out that I
Yeah.
love. But then you can't you can't do that and expect it to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. I've
So
stopped doing it, Vanessa. You know, the first time I said to myself, no more weekends, it was like, we are basically our own bosses. And so when I said no more weekends, I couldn't believe that I had the agency to do that. And then all of a sudden my life was better. And it didn't,
oh yeah,
here was the strangest thing. My
yeah,
productivity didn't change. In fact, I think I got more done.
yeah. I think that's for sure, a shift I kind of made in just looking at myself, and some changes I had to make with the amount of time I spent just continuously working and really not paying attention to, like, I think purposefully not paying attention to, your physical body trying to tell you, like, hey,
Yeah.
you get some sleep.
Yeah, absolutely.
I've definitely been there with some work.
Yeah.
So
And looking at your cats here as well, I think when we're really hard on ourselves, one of the things that just brings my whole energy back, it's just to go and get my little dog and just squeeze it and have it jump up like this, and I just squeeze it, and I
yeah,
feel energized right away. I think
there
that
you go.
we need to
Very much.
squeeze, we need to squeeze a pet, and we need to go
Yes.
out in the sun and have a look at the sky. And
So
it's
true.
amazing how much you can get done by just taking 5 minutes for that. What's 5 minutes,
So true. And they remind us too, which is great. They
They
are,
do.
yeah, they're good at that.
They're smarter than us, actually, aren't they? When you think about
Oh
it,
yeah, very
mental
much.
health wise, I just hear the scratching at the door and I go, and part of me feels bad where I go, oh, I'm doing this thing. And then I think, really, this thing, it can wait. I go out and
Yeah.
do a little squeeze and walk around the garden and come back and still get the thing done, but better.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So let's not be too hard on ourselves. What we want to take away from our vast experience as artists,
Yeah.
done this for a
Mhm.
long time. I think that if having a long life in art is that balance. I think, would you agree on that, Vanessa?
I do. I think there is a balance that's necessary.
Yeah,
Very much. I'm yes, very
yeah,
much on that way of thinking.
yeah.
So
Well,
yeah.
I think and we're very grateful, Vanessa, for you coming in for this amount of time to let
Thank you.
Vanessa get to her fluffy pillows. And is there any last questions that we have from either Melanie and Rachel or the audience?
I don't think so. This is awesome. Thank
Yeah,
you.
thank you so
Yeah.
much.
Yeah,
Oh,
I got a lot of notes I took.
oh, great. Well, thank you so much for having me. This was a great talk. I really enjoyed it. And again, any other time, if there's some way of us kind of getting together and having these kinds of talks, I'd love that too.
Oh,
We
sure.
should all do that more often. So
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely.
And just to say that to everyone in your own community, or you have a small group of friends you like to get together to, yeah, I really recommend that, reaching out to each other and saying, hey, let's get together on a Thursday night, and,
Yeah, I think
you know,
it's a great thing.
like, while you're working, and then just, be chatting like this. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely agree. There's what we've learned. And that's what I'm, taking away from this today, Vanessa, looking at you doing this in your sketchbook. I want to go get a nice sketchbook and start doing this now. And I thought that was very bold. You get in those new paintbrushes and cut them with scissors. rather than just go and grab an old, old paintbrush that's
Yeah.
already been used. I thought it was, oh, there's a face now. But forgive the throat there. I haven't had my porridge yet. Isn't it weird? It's I'm just starting the day, you guys are ending it.
Oh
But
yeah.
yeah, Vanessa, if you can hang around for just a minute or two, just say proper goodbye, and we'll
Okay.
end the stream. And we usually end with a goodbye from our native parts. I should have said this, Vanessa, at the very start. Is there a goodbye in California that doesn't really mean goodbye, but I'll see you again? Is there something like that?
Oh man, I think like yeah, see you later, I guess is
See you
very
later. Yeah.
Californian.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, we'll end that.
Yeah.
I'll begin the end with Sláinte, good health from Ireland, and the Virginians,
See y'all next
See
time.
y'all next time.
and Vanessa.
See you later.